There are two rules that I like to follow when playing Risk of Rain 2 with my friends. The first rule is to try to keep your items a little bit even towards the start. If you do not, it can be very easy to become underpowered and it's super difficult to catch back up if you're dying every round. The second rule that I like to follow is to never buy this item, the ceremonial dagger, an item that I would argue takes next to no skill to use, and you can have some incredibly broken builds with it. Well, that's the build that I went for this run, and let's just say, yeah, it is kind of broken. Now, when I say that this item is broken, I really mean that it is broken. See, the ceremonial dagger, whenever you kill an enemy, that enemy will have 3 daggers spawn where it is killed. These daggers deal 150% base damage per dagger, so really you're dealing 450% damage if you hit an enemy with all 3 of the daggers that come out. And it will increase linearly 150% per item. These daggers will home in at enemies within 130 meters, traveling at high speeds towards the nearest target. If they don't have any targets, this is the downside, they will disappear within 10 seconds. Like most of my other playthroughs, I found the difficult part of this run to be towards the start. 150% damage for the daggers is not a crazy amount, which meant I could kill the little things pretty easily. The medium stuff wasn't too bad, they took a few more hits, but the bosses were getting next to no damage done to them. I found that killing the little guys would spawn daggers, and the daggers would home in to the big guys, and that's how I did a lot of my damage. The only other downside to this build was that the daggers do not immediately lock on to the enemies. You see, whenever they spawn in from killing an enemy, it takes maybe a second to a second and a half before those daggers that spawn in home in to the next enemy, which means if you're not moving around, you become very, very vulnerable for that second or 2 seconds that they're not being homed in on. And that can be a very, very dangerous time.
Ouch, 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 ouch.
Are you kidding me?
Okay. Well, that's annoying.
As in most of my runs, I am not invincible with this build. You still have to have good movement, try to make good decisions. If you don't, or you have bad movement, or maybe you get a few unlucky hits in, you will die and falter. No matter how much damage you are doing outwardly, you are still able to be hit. So when I went around for this run, I tried to focus a little bit more on my heals, try to focus a little bit more on my defense and movement, and still was primarily trying to only do damage with my daggers. This time, it went a lot better. At the start of stage 5, my cluster of daggers were dealing 1,500 damage. This means that all the small enemies are pretty much dying instantly, the medium enemies are dying very quickly, and the large enemies are taking a significant amount of damage from my daggers alone. I was getting to the point where my defense was good enough, my movement was good enough, and my damage was starting to become very overpowered. Things spawned in on my screen, and without me having to do literally anything, they would be taking damage or dying. Still, sometimes when there was a large enemy and all the daggers would fly to it, sometimes they would disappear, but if there's a large group of medium to small enemies, the daggers would hit them and they would multiply on their own just because of how much damage I was doing. By the end of stage 5, my damage from the daggers alone had over doubled, and I was very close to having this build start to skyrocket in damage. By stage 6, with only 9 crowbars, our daggers were dealing 33,000 damage. On to stage 7, a few more laser scopes. Hey, guess what? Now our daggers are dealing 75,000 damage. Oh, you want more? Stage 8, our daggers are up to 230,000 damage. And you know what? Why not go to stage 10, where our daggers are literally dealing 2 million damage? Well, when I was finally ready to end the run, My daggers were doing 150 million damage at their peak. I also decided to buy a few bazookas because I thought it would be funny to watch things explode, which it was, and this is what the end of my run looked like. Besides this. They're here, and they're not here. I think it's at 371 million on the boss, which is, oh my gosh, so much. So much damage. I do have to kill you in order to get daggers, which spawns a lunar chimera, but I should have daggers already, right? No? Alright, fine. I'll kill one of you. Right? And then I get my daggers. They all die. 400 million. Yeah, that's almost 500 million. Unfortunately, I don't have that many daggers left, if any at all. I don't even know if there are any on the screen still. There might not be, which is unfortunate because that's the main way that I deal. Oh, I guess they are. Good, good, good. Movement's back. Oh, huge, 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 huge. I don't even know what's dealing damage to him, but he died. Oh my god, I'm gonna die. Damage dealt. 92 billion. Most damage dealt. Okay. 1 damage. Or 1 dagger is the most damage. But after like stage 4, we basically became invincible. Again, this is just like, no, you get these, you get a few damage items, and you don't have to do anything. It's insane. That's why people don't, that's why I don't play this on multiplayer, but